Okay, I'm Black Jungle. I am the KW guy, yes. And actually, it's not Redux anymore. It is rebalanced. No, I'm not going to marry you. I need to see a picture before I even consider marrying anybody. The reason I do the dual PCs is because even though I have a powerful computer, running OBS, which takes about 25% of a decent computer, plus a heavily modded KSB, was bogging it down. I was getting too much lag. So, since I had this older computer sitting around, which by itself is actually a decent gaming system, I set that up as a streaming computer. I picked up a capture card, and it took several weeks of every week having to play around with settings in order to get things to work properly. Now they do. Hooking up the mic to the right computer was just something I forgot to do. That being said, I do have a change this evening. I just updated OBS, so it seems to be doing fine. But I will be watching the stream, and if any of you have any issues, let me know. I'm watching myself, and hopefully I'll see it. Okay. Now. So anyway, getting back. So the mod which this person requested is a mod called Maneuver Queue. I'm gonna start off this evening by doing this, basically this adoption. Okay. So let me show you what it is. Okay. This is the mod. It's I'll paste this in chat if anyone wants to look at that. Yes, there are several Kerbal renaming mods out there. Okay, Maneuver Queue. This is someone wanted it. I took a look at it. It's reasonable. The mod author hasn't been around since September 8th of this year. It's a month or so, but the mod hasn't been updated since 1.2.2, so he obviously has no real interest in it. So what I will do is send him a message. I'll do that right now, letting him know that about this Maneuver Queue. Okay, so this is. I always try to contact a mod author, especially if they haven't been, if they aren't too far gone, long gone, and even if they've been gone for a long time. It's courteous. Well, Black Jungle. That's how I'm able to, in many cases, adopt a mod in about 10 minutes. Too hot. All right. Anyway, so that takes care of my notification, and actually I do need to double check the license. Well, he does not have a license listed here. Let's take a look at the download. GitHub. License is here. It is a GPL, then I have no problem in adopting it. I noticed earlier that there was a fork. Okay, and when I took a look at the fork, all it seemed to be was that this guy Leo Mike had basically reformatted it. He didn't do any changes. So I always try to grab the latest version. In this case, I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to fork this one. So that's the first step, is to fork the mod on GitHub. And Black Jungle, it's I'm not offended. I know I have gray hair. I have been around a little while. Kerbal you did ask about Kerbal renaming mods. Oops, I closed that out. Let me take well, while I'm working on this, anyone else? Well, there isn't that many other people here. Okay. And as you all know, I am a very strong CCAN supporter. Kerbal renamer. Last for 1.2.2. I know that there's something else out there. Oh, I think they actually. I think it got merged into another mod. Okay, I'm not sure. There's also yeah. Well, we'll get back to that, Black Jungle. Okay. For right now, let me move forward with this. So anyway, so I've cloned it. I'm Maneuver Q. Now I got to clone and I got to basically download it onto my system. Okay. Now you have to understand that I'm not going through setting up a system tonight. I'm just going to use my existing system. Okay. And you're also going to see me do some things, which if you're a Windows only person, you're not going to recognize. And that's because I'm using some Unix utilities which run on Windows to help me, since I do my day job is Linux based, and I'm very fluent in that for obvious reasons. We do that. So git clone, and there we get Maneuver Q down here. Great. Okay, that's that simple. Now I have a copy of the code down here. All right. So I'm currently using Visual Studio 2017. Okay. You can use 2015, you can use 2017, it doesn't really matter. 2017, you know, they're about 99% compatible. The only difference I've had is with the startup, with some of the build events, the way the build events are treated. But for this one, we're fine. So let's open this project. This is Maneuver Q. Maneuver Q. Okay. Now, obviously, if it's not a Microsoft Studio-based mod, you're going to have to play a couple of games. Basically, create a new project and then copy the files into it, rather than simply opening up an existing one. Most mods are Visual Studio based. Not all. I mean, those which aren't are actually whatchamacallit. They tend to be some sort of Mac OS, and there's a couple of people out there who do use Linux. Okay. All right. So here I got the Maneuver Q, the properties, which I'm not going to worry about. We actually have a file, which I'm not going to worry about. Again, that's part of that's stuff which is put in. This person who did this probably didn't, just wanted to keep some of these messages from popping up. That's fine. This is the code itself. And I'm not really, if you have questions, I can go into it, but I'm not really going to spend a lot of time digging into the code unless it needs it, i.e., unless I need to fix something. Okay? Now, they see here he has Maneuver Q for 1.3 and Maneuver Q 1.2. This is unusual. Frankly, I've never seen this before. So let's take a look at this. Properties. Okay, well, at least .NET Framework 3.5 is correct. Okay, no build events. So obviously the 1.2 is going to be the later one. Let's take a look at this one. 3.5, again, no build events. And let's see. Oh, that's why he has different references. All right. So I'm actually going to delete the 113 because I am not going to go recompiling this for 113. It's obviously available for that. So let's just remove that project. All right, so now I'm going to just rename it. I don't need that. Again, you know, if you want to support multiple versions of a mod, that's actually a very nice way of doing it. But I'm not going to do that. Maneuver Q. What? Oh. Maneuver Q project. Okay, great. So the big thing here is the references, okay? Now the references is where you... I'm not sure what this is. Okay, it's going to be interesting. So the references are pointing to the compiled code in KSP itself. And you see the little yellow thing here? Hello, welcome back, Jungle. That's a little triangle with an exclamation point. Okay, and what that's saying is that if I try compiling it right now, it's going to be an error because these references, which define the APIs, the code, the way the program gets into Unity and gets into KSP, is missing. So I go to right click to add reference. Now this is a change from 2015. I don't need to delete these because when I put in the new one, it's going to replace it if it's the same thing. Now these are references which I've been using in Visual Studio for KSP 1.3.1. You can see here where the path is. R, a KSP 131 dev, data, etc. I'll show you real fast how to add a reference, if reference a DLL if you need to. Click Browse. You want to drill down into the directory. In this case, we're there. So let's say that I wanted to have track IR there. So click on that, hit Add. And now, notice how it popped up here. Okay? I don't want it, so I'm going to uncheck it. Actually, I'm going to remove it because I don't want to get confused by anything. So now it says I need the assembly C#, and then the two Unity engines. Okay. And notice everything went clean now. I still don't know what that is. All right. So, what I'm going to do now is, I'm not going to, it's F6, but I'll show you here. To do a build, I build the solution using F6. It's a debug version, and any CPU is fine because we're not going down to assembly code. We're going down to the intermediate C# code. All right. So build solution. Down here is where I see the output, and it says it succeeded, nothing failed, everything's good. In this case, this was a very simple recompile. All right. So now. This is just very strange. Oh, because it's this is using and which I don't use. I'm gonna have to remove this. This is using this was built using source code control, so it's saying that everything is checked in. So I'll just ignore that for right now. It's not just a matter of creating it wizard. Like I said, I'm just showing how to do an adoption. I'm not showing the full setup of a development environment. setting up a development environment involves a couple of things. First, obviously, you need to install Visual Studio, which is a free download from Microsoft. You need to have KSP available. In my case, let me show you this. I have KSP in many places, but this here, the R drive, is what's called a RAM disk. And, oops, my teacup is dripping. Okay, so the RAM disk is basically like, it looks like a hard disk, only it's stored in RAM. And this RAM disk, I believe, is 4 gig in size. Yeah, 5 gig in size, okay? So what happens is that I copy my development directory into the RAM disk for speed. All right. Put that over here so it won't damage my keyboard. All right. Some people will go as far as going into their development directory and delete things, delete everything which they don't need, which they're not using in Squad. Okay, now you got a lot of parts here, and so I know that some people they'll delete all of the graphic or all of the images just to make it as fast to start up the game as possible. Okay, as you see here, I've been doing a lot of work today. So there's all of these mods are mods which have been compiled and released for 1.3.1. I'm going to clean them out right now and just have a plain ordinary game. Okay, all right, so I'm going to now this is what I do. Okay, I do a couple of things here. I create what's called a solution folder. It's called new folder, but I call it solution folder because I put things in there which help me build the solution. And let me open the folder here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is this. First of all, I don't need that 113. Let's just delete that. Pat. Oh, I see what he's doing. Okay, I may need to redo this again later, but for now this will be fine. Okay, touch, deploy, pat. Okay, I have some. No, my main drive, Black Jungle. Scroll down and you'll see my specs. My system here has 4, 6, 8 SSDs in it. 2 SSDs are my C drive and 6 SSDs are my D drive. The C drive is set up in a RAID 1, meaning that they mirror each other, and the D drive is set up in a RAID 10, which is a combination of RAID and of mirroring and striping. So it's very, very fast. The RAM disk is just a bit faster than that. So what I'm doing here, I'm just doing touch. I'm creating 0 files. Yes, I was mentioning RAM disk. My R drive is a RAM disk. Okay. So I have the standard. If you look at any of my mods, you'll see things called deploy.bat, build-release.bat. Okay. I see there's already a license. I don't need to worry about that. So we can close that. And now the solution folder is where I put the links to these. So I can add existing items, deploy, build release, changelog, license, and the README. Again, it's everything that's needed in order to, if I want to edit it in here. Okay. Obviously, build release is nothing. Changelog is showing this is the previous author's changelog. License tells me it's the GPL, and the README, which is used by GitHub to give you an idea as to what's going on. Okay. Over here, I'm going to add a file. What's called add a new item. Oops, why isn't it doing that? Add. What is going on with this mod? Of course, I do pick a mod which is going to give me a headache like this. I've never had this problem before. It's because of the source code control. So let me see. I'm going to do that. And frankly, I don't really care about this. Can't, because I got them down there. Yes. Okay. There we go. There are my references. There are the files. Okay. And let's see if I can add here. Add a new item. Cannot find requested resource 300. Joy. Alright, what I'm going to do then is play a game, in the manner of speaking. I'm just going to maneuver queue project, open folder 1.2. Touch. Assembly version.tt, it's what's called a text template. I was trying to add it here. It couldn't, so now I'll just add an existing item. And this right now is going to be an empty file because I'm going to copy it from another place. It's a standard file I use, and what it does is it takes the .version file, which this mod doesn't seem to have yet, so I'm going to have to create that as well, and builds it, compiles it into the binary. This shows up when someone does I use Git, but I do it by hand. I don't do it from inside Visual Studio. Okay? Well, it happens, but again, this is the first time I've run into a mod maker who's actually using the source control built into Visual Studio. Okay, so that's what makes it a little odd for me. It's not that, I'm not unhappy about it. It's just something different. And also this global suppression, I've never seen anyone put this in before. It's not. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a little different. So, getting back to assembly version.tt, when the game runs, especially if module manager is there, you can see in the output log the assembly version which this file puts in. Okay, so this way when someone says they're having a problem and they're using the latest version, and then they send me the log file, and I look at it and I see that they're running a version 2 versions back, I can say, you're full of it, nicely of course, and because you're running X version and you need to update to the newest version. It has saved me so many hours of fruitless debugging time. Okay, so what I need to do here, okay, GitHub maneuver queue. All right, so what I actually want here is I'm going to create a game data directory. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to download the latest version he had. The reason is because not everybody decides to put the all their files for the release into their GitHub repo for some odd reason. They put the source code file, but there are a lot of other supporting files. So by downloading the distribution file, I know I have everything. Okay, so let's just put that away for a moment. Okay, so now, great. That's actually very good. I like seeing the fact that the plugin is actually in a plugins folder. This is actually a very simple one. There's only plugins, but that's fine. Okay, so what it means here is that I need a version file. Okay, there it is, and let's add it here. I need this version file in order to finish working on the assembly version.tt. Add existing item and version, there it is. Great. So now, just to be safe, I always go here, I right click and get the properties, and then I just do a copy from there and into the assembly version. You see here is the string version file. This usually, in all cases, it's hard-coded to the exact path. I've tried in the past to have it relative. It just never been fun to do that, so I ended up just doing this. So that's all that's needed in this file. And that will be an automatic thing every time I update the version. Now, obviously, I don't have version information yet. So, for this, what I'm going to do is just copy another one. Okay. And then obviously I'll update it. Maneuver Q. This is going to be replaced, this URL with the URL of this file on GitHub once I'm done. And obviously the download is going to be updated by the right thing when it gets there. So I'll just do that for right now. Now, checking his support, his pages, his latest version was 042. Name was Fathand, by the way. Fathand. So what I do is I try for that's very odd. Why is that doing that? Oh, right. I understand. Okay. 3 1 3 1 3 1. Okay. So now, last thing here is it needs to be called. So when I go to the project, I go to the build events and the pre-build event command. And again, this is something which I've developed. You are more than welcome to copy my mods and to use these as templates. So this basically tells Visual Studio where the executable is, the text transform, and then it runs it against this. Now this is essentially C# code, okay, but it's being compiled and run before it compiles anything else. Okay, so if you have a problem in this, a syntax error, nothing else is going to work. And let me show you what it ends up doing is this. You get a file, it will write this file, only the assembly version will be whatever the current in the maneuver queue is. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a quick compile, and you can see there it got updated to 0.4.3.0. Okay, now error, duplicate KSP add-on attribute. This is because this is already here. Whoops. Or not. Build clean solution. Okay, so I don't need this. Somehow it thinks that it has 2 copies of it. Okay. Okay, let me just make sure about this. open folder, so that is the KSP 1.2, so let's go into here and just delete it from here. Actually, I want to delete this whole thing. Yeah. Okay. Now let's do a clean. See, now it worked. It was what was happening was that because there had been that other maneuver queue in there, because I had done some, I deleted one, but it hadn't gotten deleted from here. All right, so now you can see here the assembly version is there. So we're making progress in massaging this mod into what I like to be able to release. Okay, this is it's like I guess you can call it a header. Basically, it's information which is written somewhere into the mod file, into the DLL file, which gives version information. There's a lot more information which can be there. Okay, I'm looking for, no, not that. Of course, now that I want to show you, I can. There actually is other information which you can put in there, and it comes in over here. You can get various types. Again, it's Visual Studio. I don't want this. I don't want // bin debug release. Okay. I believe. Let me just make sure that I'm just checking another one to make sure I get, because this again because he seems to have bin release, bin debug. Okay, great. All right. So that fixes the project information. Okay. Let's get back to build events. Okay. Now deploy.bat. Remember I mentioned that? We'll go to this for a moment. Okay. All right, game data plugins. Okay, this I'm actually I'm using another mod as reference, which has stuff which isn't needed. If anyone's interested, it's called Engine Igniter. No. They send it's a text file. When I do the first run of this, I'll pull up the log file and show you. Okay. So now this is going to say that, okay, first line has to be blank because sometimes Visual Studio messes up and it gets garbage there. I don't understand it. I just ignore it. Echo off so nothing's shown. H, this is just a variable. Tells me where it's going to go right here. I copy the object file to the plugins directory, game data, game dir, and then it makes it, if necessary. Actually, I actually don't think I need that, not anymore. Okay, and then it copies it up. Okay, in order for this to run, we have to go back to the project. Okay, and again, this is something which I'm, it's a standard script. Okay. Basically, I'll pull it up here for you so you can show it a little better. It actually runs. It runs the deploy.bat, passing in the target directory and the target file name. If I'm doing a release build, then it also builds the release. But we don't want a release build, we'll just do a debug. And we'll do a quick compile, see what happens. It succeeded. That little black window was the deploy.bat actually running. I'm going to do this, and just so you can see what's happening, I'll do that. Okay. And you can see here where it's doing all the statements which are in that deploy.bat. Okay, it copied everything over, license text, maneuver queue, looks good. Hit space to continue. So let me get rid of that. Any questions so far? You're welcome. And just so you know, Black Jungle, I'm only going to, this is an adoption. I'm going to, this is taking a relatively long time because I have to explain it and because of the issues here. I will be doing 2 or 3 updates, and those will take about 5 minutes apiece because those are very, very, very fast. And then I'll be getting into the game. So right now it's 8 o'clock. I would say that by 9 o'clock I will be playing KSP. 1.3.0, not 1.3.1. Okay. Build events in Black Jungle is it says what these are things which it does. Okay, basically scripts which you run. It's command line stuff. Okay, so now let's take a look at the game directory. See if make sure it's good. And the first time I maneuver queue, plugins, licenses there, and it was made at 7:58, which is 2 minutes ago, which looks good. So let's go ahead and run this. Devon Fuss, hello, welcome. The assembly.tt is it's a C# file. What it does is that it reads the .version file and writes and creates this. Okay, which the compiler then takes this and puts it into as text into the DLL, so that you can it'll get printed out during the running of the game. So this is my development, and we shall launch it and see what happens. Now I have no idea how this mod is supposed to work. Okay, other than reading what little I saw. Basically, it's an add-on which allows you to sort and filter objects displayed in the tracking station list. So he developed it against KSP 1.1.3 and 1.2. Okay. So I'm going to have to create a couple of things here. Oh, you know, is HyperEdit available? Yes, HyperEdit is available. Great. As it is not installed, I had deleted it by hand, so we'll just do that. So what I actually want to do, I'm just going to install a couple of mods which I find extremely useful. WASD editor extensions. Okay, these I always install these. I don't want to enter the closet right now. Continue. I just find these to be essential mods for myself. Okay, and let's get into it. Okay, yes. And I wanted HyperEdit because I don't want to spend time getting things into orbit for maneuvers. I just want to be able to get them in there and be able to test it. Okay. Given that this was from 1.2, I'm just a little concerned as to it working properly in 1.3. Not a lot. It should be fine. but we shall see. Okay, Kerbal X, HyperEdit, Orbit Editor. You shall apply it to Orbit. Okay. Create a maneuver node over here. Okay, that's fine. Space Center. Okay, he still has that bug. That's something new. Again, I haven't really played in 1.3 at all. 1.3.1. So some of this is just, oh, this met, I see. This here is the mod. Okay, oh, I see. This is the sort. A to Z, maneuver time, and I'm not sure what MET is. MET shows the default tracking station list. Maneuver shows only those ships with maneuver nodes. Okay, so let's get another vessel there, and we'll do ComSat. Yellow screen. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so we're just going to okay, Alt H, put this into orbit, select the active vessel, put it up there, apply. Okay, so it's now in orbit. Head back to the Space Center. Okay. So, MET, mission elapsed time. Looks like it's working. So now I'm actually going to be very comfortable in, I can see that it works. What I may want to do is actually put in a tooltip above these guys, because it took me a minute to realize, understand what it's talking about. So you know, if it might be nice to do that, but I'm not going to do that for this, because that's coding, and that's actually going to take a little bit of time. But the fact is that it works. All right. So deploy.bat is working. Let's close this. So now I need to actually build my release. Again, I'm going to getting what I got here. MANEUV QU maneuver Q. Okay. License.text. There's a readme.good. Released blah blah blah. Okay, so here's the thing. Okay, I have certain tools installed in order for this to work. One of them is 7Z, which is 7-zip. Okay. Anybody not know what 7-zip is? You go to here, 7zip.org, and you can download and install your executable. Okay. Again, this will be. You're right. Well, actually, in this case, it doesn't, because it's not used down here. But thank you. I like putting in the full path to where the 7-zip is, just because sometimes Windows decides to play games. There might be something else installed, etc. All right. So I'm just going to go through this, because again, there are things here which aren't needed. Version. Okay, so the version which game dir. Okay, here's the thing. In almost all of my mods, the name of the game dir is the name of the mod. Okay. I ran into a small problem earlier today when I was updating. Actually, I took over filter extensions. Okay, and I put out a beta. But filter extensions, the name of the mod is filter extensions, but the game directory is 000_filter extensions. So I had to do a little customizing in order to make that work properly. But basically, I'm just looking at this. I have mini avc.dll in my GitHub directory. Let me get back to here. This is my GitHub. This basically, every time I clone a repo from GitHub, it goes into here. I have a lot of them, and I do clean them out occasionally. I have miniabc.dll. I also have module manager in here if I need it. Okay, so I always include miniabc.dll just because I like what it does. License, since it's not not blank, I copy it down to the game directory. The README gets copied to the game directory. Okay, version. Now this is what this is a little bit convoluted. Well, not convoluted, but you have to understand what this is. Okay, the version files is something called JSON. Okay, a formatting language called JSON. Let me pull it up here. Okay, and while I like having it nicely formatted like this, I'm actually going to reformat it because there was something bad here. I go to a site called jsonformatter.org. Okay, and I use this to both format and beautify it, and to validate that it's good JSON. Okay, because if you miss a comma, it's not good. Okay, so okay, format was good. Disillusioned, every mod I do goes into CCAN, not necessarily module manager, only if it's needed. Okay, but every mod I do is in CCAN without fail. I have not yet found a mod which cannot be properly supported with CCAN, assuming that the developer wants to spend a few minutes and package his mod up properly in a sane manner, and get the netcan stuff working properly. And I'm willing to. I have a script which will take a package file and generate a netcan which is about 99% accurate. Every once in a while I have to add something because there's something required which isn't there, but that's it. All right. Yes, I love CCAN also. I've had, I won't say arguments, but I've had discussions with other developers who don't like it. It's the type of thing where I haven't been able to convince them because they've had a bad experience in the past, and they don't understand that, in order to have a tool work properly, you need to put a little effort into it. Okay, Rover Dude uses CCAN, but he actually wants to write his own netcan files. Again, it's what he wants. That's fine. It works. So this version file is very important for CCAN to work properly. It's not necessary, but if it's there, then the CCAN bots can look at the file and know what version the mod is, what KSP version is, etc. So it automatically updates. All of these mods I put out today with updates, I have not touched CCAN at all. I simply update the files, upload them, and boom, they're there and ready to go. Okay, so let's get back to the build release .bat. Okay, so this, and the syntax is a little strange. There's a program called JQ, which you can get over here. Okay, and this actually parses the JSON file and returns the .version.major, which, if you look at the version file again, version major, version minor, version patch, version build. Okay, so I'm pulling out all the versioning information and putting it into. I send it to a temp file, and then I read that temp file into my local variables. If this was, I'm doing it in Windows batch because it's a Windows system. If I was using, if I was doing this on Linux, these would all be each one of these would be a single line. I wouldn't need the intermediate step of a temp file. But I'm not a huge Windows batch file guy. I know how to do it. I'm sure that someone else might be able to do it better, but it works for me. Okay, so I set the version file there. I pull out the versioning information. I create my version here, major, minor, patch. I only add the fourth one if it's not 0. Okay, so in this particular case, this is going to be 0.4.3. No 0. If I put a number here, then it would be something else there. Okay. If you decide to use this program, the only thing you need to be wary of is that if the file name is too long, it barfs. Okay. So in those cases, what I do, I actually copy the file to a file called a.version, and then I set the version file to a.version. I run through everything here, and then I delete that a.version. It's just because this program can't handle file names which are too long. But I only do that if it has a problem. This one is not going to be a problem. I echo the version, and then I build the file, and then I pause. So let's do a build release. Okay, now that pause at the beginning is that assembly version.tt being compiled and run every single time. Unfortunately, I can't avoid that because I need this assembly version. I wish I could have a way which it would only be done if the version file is changed, but I haven't come up with a way to do that yet. So it takes a few seconds. So you see here, it copied files, showed me the version, 7-zip. It zipped it all up, tells me everything's okay, and we're done. So now, and that's the magic. Okay? Maneuver queue 0.4.3, ready for release. That's right, Disillusioned. If you look at a lot of my older mods, you will see the deploy.bat and the build release.bat, but they will not be as standardized, for lack of a better term, as these guys are. I mean, this is a nice simple thing. The build release is pretty much standardized. I do make minor changes, but it's fairly short and fairly easy to understand. My earlier mods, they were all over the place because I was still developing the method by where am I going to put the files. I do have a couple of things which I still have problems with because they require other mods as part of the build process. But in general, everything works nicely. So this mod is ready for me to take care of, to update. So let me do this. I'm going to go open file. Now remember I said that I use GitHub from the command line? That's what this is. Okay, now oh, danger. Okay, there's a Git file called .gitignore. And what .gitignore does, it tells Git which files to not put into source control. Okay, very basically, I don't want files with tildes, swap files, DLLs, or PDB. Okay, there's a lot of other stuff here also. I had someone cuss me out one time because I sent him a PR with all the stuff in it. He just didn't want. He felt I was being sloppy. I like keeping everything clean, and it was a. We agreed to disagree. I resubmitted the thing, and eventually he accepted my changes. So that tilde is because I use an editor called VI or VIM. Let me give you an example. I can do it either from the command line here. Okay, it's a very, well, I won't call it a simple text editor, but it's a very old text editor. The problem with it, if you want to call it a problem, is that it saves a backup of the file you're editing with a tilde at the end. Okay? And I happen to like this because it saved me many times when I make mistakes. I've saved the file and said, oh my god, I need the old version, and I can get it back very quickly. All right. I also use a GUI version of VI. So by doing this, I can do git add. And now this is showing me, oops. Okay. This is showing me everything that's being done, changed. Okay. New file. I'll just do that, make it a little easier. Okay. I modified the git ignore. There's a new file. I added these new files. I modified the SLN, which is a Visual Studio file. I added the version. I deleted these guys. I added these two files. I renamed those because really I moved them from whatever. And I added these two files. So initial adoption compiled for KSP 1.3.1. Okay. And this is pushing it up to GitHub. So now the source code is fully updated there. Okay. Now I need to here's maneuver Q. This is obviously my branch. Okay. 7 releases. It's showing me what of his releases there are. So I'm going to draft a new release, which is 0.4.3. Adoption. Okay, drag and drop and publish. So now you can go to this on GitHub and you can download it and you can use it. I'm not done with the adoption process yet, okay? So, getting back to his original, he didn't have it on Space Dock. I will put it on Space. I like having things on Space Dock and on GitHub. Create a new mod. Kerbal space program. Move a queue. Okay. Move it. The license was MIT, I believe I said. License. Yeah, no, GPL. LB3, drag and drop. Okay. 0.4.3. Create your mod. Okay. I'm just grabbing it in one of the images from his from the old thread. Just going to save it here as MQ. Okay. I want to edit this. Click to upload the header, download, state modified, MQ, open. Great. Perfect. Okay, mod website. I haven't done that yet. Donation link. Well, you know what that's for. Donation link is there. Source code over here. Okay, mod website, I will come back and add that later on. Okay, in the meantime for this, I'm just going to do a copy and paste. Oops. Yeah. Show you what I'm doing. Now, he says Linux is not supported. There's no reason why Linux shouldn't be supported, because this is C sharp. Copy that. Get into here. Okay. We don't need that. Copy image address, and this is the markdown. We want to add an image. Okay, I think that's right. Okay, make A to Z. Don't want to worry about that. Okay, and we shall save this. Yep, there we go. Looks good. Now PO box. It's called. It's not DOS. It's Bash. Okay. But I'm actually from. Let me take that back. This is what you would. Well, it's DOS. It's Windows batch file, okay, or command file. I'm using a .bat, but .bat and .cmd are exactly the same these days. Okay, so we got that. I'm going to publish this mod. Okay. Last thing, well, there are two more things I need to do for this. One is submit it to CCAN, and the other is to get a web page for it. I'll do the web page later, but let me show you the CCAN process. Okay. Because that's also part of my whole thing, which takes a few minutes, but not a lot. Don't need that. Okay. So here, first thing is this. I have another computer here. Okay. This is a Linux box. Let me get to it. While that's loading, the reason for this is that I have a shell script which runs on, well, it's a bash script. While I could run it in Cygwin, it's extremely slow in Cygwin. To give you an example, what I'm going to run here, okay, this is GPL v3 netcan NuvaQ and SpaceDock. This is one reason why I like SpaceDock 1541. Makes it easy. I can put a GitHub URL in here also. Okay. Now, date modified. This is a file. I'll show you of all mods in CCAN and the directory that they belong in. Okay. The reason for this is that it has to scan this in order to make sure that we're not, whether it's a primary mod or if it's an included mod. And occasionally this messes up or it gets confused because a mod, some mod authors put multiple mods in the same folder. Okay, so here you got right here, here's the netcan file. Okay, so, which is right there. Okay. It doesn't require anything. So, over here, we will go to netcan. Okay. Okay. So what I just did, I created a new branch in the netcan directory. And this is needed because when I'm copying the manuvaq.netcan there, okay. Okay. So I just I just created a branch in Git of the netcan. The only change in it is I added one file, and I'm pushing the new branch. This is a script up to GitHub, my account. Now we get over to here. Okay. Go to netcan, and you can see here, MQ is what I just pushed up there. So I'm going to take MQ, and I'm going to do a pull request. And the pull request is basically saying to the netcan repo, here's something I want to merge in. Okay, and then the people who set up netcan, they've set up scripts, and it's actually going to check and make sure that this will work properly before it gets merged. Okay. Now, one of the things I have to be very careful here, but I have the ability to merge my own and anybody else's PRs if I feel it's worthwhile. Since I didn't write this, but since I submitted this one, and I know how simple it is, I'm not going to worry about it. I know that it's not going to have any problems. Usually, if a mod has a lot of dependencies or if-thens and whatever, it's nice having someone else take a look at the mod itself, download it, see what's needed, make sure that the netcan is properly has all the things listed that it needs it. So what it's doing, it's actually, let me show you the console output. This is what it's doing here. It's actually pulling these things down. Okay, it's using a tool called Jenkins to run through a build process, and this build process is set up to avoid, to make sure that all the jobs which come in work properly without errors. This is why CCAN is a manual process, at least the setup, because when it was first set up, I believe, it wasn't manual. Anybody could push stuff in, and the files got all messed up. So this gives us some control to make sure that, okay, somebody's taken responsibility for it. Okay, you can see what it's going through a lot of stuff. This is the CCAN, the netcan, which has been changed to a CCAN file, and now it's running through it to make sure that it works. Okay, said success. And I'm just going to go ahead and squash and merge it. And that mod has been adopted. Okay, what I'm going to do is to publish a message. If I can find it here. Here we go. Well, I'm going to do that later, but I always put a message on the thread of the mod that I'm adopting, telling them where the new stuff is. Now, the only other thing I want to do is this, and then we'll be done with this. Let me go back to here. NuvaQ. Remember I talked to you about the version file? So I want to get the raw path from here. Okay. And come to here. And the URL is this. Okay. And what that is, that's what the ABC mod used to check to see if there's a newer version. Okay. And spacedoc was 1541. 1541. So I'm actually going to do another build 1, because I wanted to get these updates in there. But since I've already gotten in CCAN, this is going to go very fast. Okay, this is the build. Okay, it's up there. Okay, let's go. Again, I'm going to have to... I do these things in order so I don't forget. Updated version information. Okay. So that gets these changes up there. Now let's take a look at the release. Maneuver Q0431, so I have to update this mod. 0.4 to 3.1. updated info, publish update, and we'll do the same thing on GitHub. Zero dot 4.2.1. Oops. Updated version info. And now the right versions are up there. And I'm done. So taking over this mod took, because I was talking, etc., took about an hour, hour and a half. When I did filter extensions earlier today, it took about half an hour or less. Because again, I didn't have to explain things. I didn't have that problem with with Visual Studio, etc. Okay. So, and finally, for my own excuse me, my own record keeping. Let me find my don't need that. I am looking for docs. Looking for my spreadsheet. Okay. Okay. This you've seen the spreadsheet before, many times, I hope. Okay. So now I'm going to insert a row before. Maneuver queue. This would be command. I'm going to call it a utility and navigation. 0.4.2.1. Today's date is the 10/8. Okay. GitHub is here. And I don't have a thread for it yet. All right, that takes care of that. Did I make that mistake? You're right. Latest release. Oops. Edit release. 0.4.3.1. And let me make sure, yep, okay. Let me double check space dock. Make sure I didn't goof up there. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, okay, so it was just the GitHub one that I messed up. And over here, 0.4.3 to 1, wait. Okay. Thank you.